there. Hi, I'm Jeff Gore of the Global Learning Community, and the purpose of this GLC video is to help you out with academic writing. With Professor Gajjala's visit coming up, we're going to be taking a look at some pretty heavy-duty pieces of academic writing. And of course, it doesn't stop there. You're going to encounter academic writing throughout your college career. Knowing a little bit about what to look for can actually make the reading a lot easier. Before we take a look at some academic writing, it might help to think about the writers themselves. While you're at UIC, you're probably going to encounter some pretty wonderful teachers, but you may or may not know that most of your university instructors are also devoted to what we might call R and D, and in this case the R stands for research and the D stands for discovery. Well, here at the bottom of the screen, here we have Professor Stein Christensen, who was our visiting scholar for International Education Week last semester. As you may remember, Professor Christensen does work on a variety of topics in film and technology, and he reported to us some of his discoveries about cell phones and how they're changing political culture. And next to him, we have Professor Peter Doran, who spoke to us last week. Professor Doran does research on climate change in Antarctica, so the purpose of his work is to report discoveries about Antarctica. Now, there are basically two parts to every discovery: the known, and then what the writer's own special and kind of unique contribution to the topic and what's known about it. If the topic is relatively new to you, part of the writer's gift to you is going to be to tell you what's already known about it, to tell you what the people who are interested in the topic have actually already been saying about it. But academic writers always have a second purpose, and this purpose is going to be to explain to everyone what their special and somewhat unique contribution is to what's already known about the topic. And think about this, it's their personal contribution that's actually going to be what gets them their jobs and promotions as professors. So when they're writing, part of their job is to teach us what's happening in the conversations, but part of their purpose is to say, here's what I have discovered about the topic. Okay, so this last sentence, let's see if I can blow this one up. Okay. Here we have kind of, well, the same relationships are included here, but we're kind of getting it sort of in the middle of things. So the writer has already been talking about things that are known. She's been talking about exchanges. Now this is still from the introduction to her essay, and she talks about exchanges when people meet each other online, when they buy and sell things online. But her question, now this is so neat the way that the question is set up because you can really hear kind of a sense of tone. Again, the way I was telling you, try to read these things out loud every once in a while and you're really going to be able to understand them a lot better. Okay, so let's take a look at the way that she's saying this. Are such online relationships individual to individual? So remember we were saying, you know, she's been talking about exchanges, people meet each other, they buy and sell stuff. Are such online relationships individual to individual? Now, you can see that she is definitely falling on the side of clarity here. That she says, I think not. And then what's going to follow is an explanation about the way that they're not only individual to individual. And we always wish every writer would do exactly the way we wish they would, but in fact, I think what she means here are these relationships only individual to individual. I think not. And so the way that you should already see it coming by the way I've put that word only. Well, no, they're not only individual to individual. They're going to be more than that. And even if you don't totally understand what she says here, you can see that she's saying that something is not only between individuals. Okay? So even if you don't totally understand the framework that she's going to lay out, you can understand her grammatical framework, because what she's saying is that the things that happen online are part of a bigger picture. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at it. She's going to actually lay out what her way of talking is to you here. So the present exploratory essay is based on the claim. Boy, that's really clear. I mean, you may have learned in high school that you shouldn't just come out and say this essay is based on. I think academic writers actually do this a lot, and it doesn't hurt to come out and just say that. Risk being clear in your writing, and look for writers that they will do things like this and really pay attention when they do. The present exploratory essay is based on the claim that online exchanges, either buying and selling or imaginative exchanges, are shaped by larger forces in the offline world, in particular, the marketing and laboring needs of the global digital economy. So like I was saying, she's going to ask, are these things only individual to individual? And that's what it seems like when you're online. It seems like if you are playing a role-playing character online and you meet somebody, it really does seem like you're having kind of an individual conversation. And you are. But she's going to really say, now wait a minute, I think not. That there's actually also a bigger picture going on. That to a certain extent we're all playing inside the matrix. And that what seems like individual to individual conversations are actually part of a bigger picture. And for her, that bigger picture is the marketing and laboring needs of the global economy. Okay, so I want to finish up by showing you a piece from Professor Radhika Gajjala's writing. Let's see if I can blow it up here just a little bit. Okay, now I have to admit that the last sentence that we looked at, it was actually kind of something of a mashup, okay? But I did that because I wanted to show you that, in fact, that the structure is there, and that structure is always trying to do one thing. It's trying to show you how there is this relationship of what is the known plus what is the writer's unique discovery, or as we might also just call it, the argument. Okay? But it's what the writer has to add to what is known. Okay? So the sentence that we saw earlier, we can see that it's actually part of two different paragraphs that are side by side, but you can see that the structure is still there. Okay, so you can remember what we were talking about earlier, that she was looking at varieties of kinds of exchanges that exist online, and her question was, are these things that happen purely among individuals? Okay, so we can see here the sentence. If we start to read here, she's talking about some of these exchanges and how they happen online. So producers learn to link a consumer base to a producer. Economic ties are built through social and aesthetic desire. But can this happen, as is often implied and celebrated in net cultures? That's how it feels like, in net cultures. Can this happen individual to individual? And here's where she comes through with that very bold, I think not. Now here, I'll admit that your brain really needs to be working triple time to be able to pick this up. But if you start thinking about these cues, and she couldn't be more clear with this cue, if you start thinking about these cues, it's actually really going to make you a better reader. And even with some stuff that is really tough stuff, you can actually let grammar be your friend. Okay, so let's take a look. So in what you see in this paragraph, okay, so remember what we were setting up? We were setting up that it feels like in net cultures that it's individual to individual. Is it just that? Is it only that? Remember from the last page? I think not. Okay, so what do we have here? Over and over again, she's talking about the global. So it's not just individual, it's part of global processes. It's part of these processes feed into local economic and cultural formations, and then the global technospaces. Every sentence is going to be in some ways talking about, remember, it's not just the individual, it's the big picture. Okay, so now we get back to the part that I ended up mashing together in the last reading, in the last sentence that we looked at. Okay, so the present exploratory essay is based mostly on the claim that online presences and absences are shaped by the marketing and laboring needs of this emerging global digital economy. Now, in some ways, think about this. This sounds like such, these are really big and packed ideas here. These are huge ideas to be thinking about. But in some ways, once you know this structure, that they're going to be talking about the known and what their discovery is, it's not that hard. Because really, think about it. What are you having to know about? Do you need to understand all these different things about global, or do you just need to understand the thing that she was looking at earlier, asking, is this just between individuals? You really just need to understand that she's saying, this is more than 1 plus 1. This is more than just one person plus one person. And so even if you don't totally understand all the material about the global technospace, global processes, all of that, you can see that what she's saying is that it's more than 1 plus 1. What we know, or what it feels like online, is that it's 1 plus 1. What we actually, her discovery, her argument, is that it's more than that. I think not. It's not just individual. And here's where she lays it out. The present exploratory essay is based mostly on the claim that online presences and absences are shaped by, and here's that bigger picture, the marketing and laboring needs of this emerging global digital economy. Okay, so what you can see, again, just to finish up, I'm going to tell you that in academic writing, what you're looking for, somebody's going to lay out the things that we know. When we're online, it feels like it's just individual to individual, but it's actually part of a global process. And, you may not yet understand all the different ideas about global technospaces. I don't understand them all. I think Professor Gajjala would admit she doesn't understand them all. But what she does understand is being able to say, it's just a little bit more than just one person talking to one person, but it's part of this bigger picture. Okay, so this may help you a little bit in reading her work, but the important thing that it actually can really help you with is that in academic writing, whenever you're looking at it, you want to see, is the person talking about things that we can know kind of by looking at it, things that are already being talked about, or is she actually saying, here's my unique argument? Thanks for listening.